Alrighty, everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sydney Rosant, and dun, 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 finally at the finale for Love is Blind. But first, go make sure you subscribe, make sure you like this video, uh, and watch some of my previous Love is Blind recaps. They are pretty entertaining, in my opinion. And follow me on social media. Alrighty, let's get started with the reunion. So I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts on the reunion first before diving into like each couple and the various conflicts that are covered. Once again, Nick and Vanessa Lachey are not qualified to be hosts. I think it's time that we consider Lauren and what's her husband's name? And Cam? Yeah, the Hamiltons, right? It's time for the Hamiltons to host the show. They're like the singular successful couple that's ever come out of this franchise. And I think that like Lauren gives off the impression that she'll get into it. Like let's ask those tough questions. I felt like there just weren't a lot of tough follow-up questions for them. Like there was a lot of stuff that went unsaid. I can't quite tell. The impression that I get is that like it seems like the show tries to protect people, and I understand why, because the internet is harsh, but please stop. Like, if they said something crazy, show it to us. Like, I don't want to hear all these vague comments about what was going down and like, you're lucky this didn't get shown. All right, so the first couple that we're going to talk about are Brennan and Alexa. And I literally wrote down verbatim. I said they seem to be a chill and respectful couple. Yeah, that's all you need. Just be respectful and just be chill. Like I feel like Brennan and Alexa, I get the impression that they both of them could be with anybody, and so long as their partner was chill and respectful, it would probably work, right? The only issue that they had were just domestic, right? Just like the dishes and like, or the piece of advice that they received, which they imparted on us, which was that, don't make roommate problems marriage problems. And I think getting that piece of advice really early on in their marriage is important, because obviously they have to cohabitate with each other till death. So you might as well learn how to deal with your partner. All right, next. We're going to go on to Cole and Zennab. So the first thing I noticed from Cole was that he looked awful. He looked very bad. His beard was grown out. He picked this wrinkly white shirt and this velvet top that I don't even think like was the right size. Like he looked really bad. And I never thought Cole was that attractive to begin with, but whenever someone looks that bad at an event where they should look decent, they have to be trying. And I'll point this out later on because Cole, he had a plan and he just needed a platform. So the first thing they get into it with Cole is about Cole and Colleen and that flirting interaction. And Colleen, she apologizes to everyone profusely over and over and over again. We're gonna talk about Colleen, don't you worry now. She apologizes profusely. And Cole doesn't seem that apologetic. He doesn't. Like throughout the reunion, like I don't get the vibe. Like even when he does say sorry, it's like forced out of him. Like he truly isn't sorry. He's just like upset that everybody is seeing who he is. And I don't even think that he recognized the chaos that he caused. And he wasn't even, at least Colleen went back and told Matt about the interaction. He didn't even tell Zennab about the interaction, and then had the nerve afterwards to double down on how he felt that Colleen was more attractive than Zennab. And there's so much that was wrong here, and that's why I was really upset with Nick and Vanessa, because why didn't anyone call him out for talking to other people about how he wasn't attracted to Zennab? Like he wanted the whole world to know that like this girl's not on my level. It was very insidious. I also wrote down, I said like he's more concerned about his perception than Zennab's feelings, right? Any apology that he made was for us, right? For the audience, so that we wouldn't destroy him. And guys, please don't send him hate, but so that we wouldn't destroy him. But it wasn't really because he was concerned about Zennab's feelings, because if he had an ounce of consideration for her, he would not have treated her the way that he did. They also show a montage of Zennab being like a nag. She's a bad nag. I think like everyone has their flaws, and this flaw of hers is like top tier. Now, Cole admitted that he is nasty, right? He leaves things all over the place. He clarified by his disgusting apartment that I guess the power went out, so he forgot to flush. I don't see how those two relate, Cole. They don't relate. When you go to the bathroom, you flush. Like the toilet doesn't work on the toilet doesn't run on electricity. So he had dookie all over his toilet, and that's why there were flies running around. Like that's disgusting, right? So I understand why Zenab was probably like, but she was definitely a nag. Like they just didn't need to be together. They just didn't need to be together. And I honestly don't think either of them are that ready for like a true partnership, because Zenab needs to learn how to share her space. Then Zenab starts to go in about things that were not mentioned on the show. So she references something that happened after the bachelor party, where I guess some of the guys went out, they got blasted, and Cole got a girl's number and tried to kiss her. And so immediately Cole's like, that didn't happen. That never happened. That didn't happen. That never happened. And it was silent with the men. They were silent, right? Or whenever a guy goes out with his friends, typically, if the guy does something wrong, like I feel like the friends usually like defend him, or they're like, no, 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 or whatever. Like Matt did kind of, he gave a little like, oh, I mean, I was super drunk and then I went home. So it was just like, you weren't, he pretty much like, I wasn't there. But nobody else truly came to Cole's defense. And that alarm bells about Cole's true nature started to ring for me. Just ring, ring, ring. And the fact that he was like just calling Zenab a liar like that, like she just completely made it up out of nowhere. And in the previous couple episodes, he asked her if she was bipolar. The G word is about to come out, and the G word is gaslight. He's gaslighting her. And people overuse the word gaslight, right? They anytime somebody upsets them, they say, "Oh, you gaslit me." They try to use those words synonymously or interchangeably, which is dangerous. But in this particular circumstance, he's actually trying to make her think that she's crazy. Like he's using clinical words like bipolar, crazy, insane. And I'm so happy that the women were like, whoa, she's not insane, right? Whoa, she's not crazy. Because while somebody else saying those things might be innocent, I don't think there's much that's innocent about Cole. And I know a lot of people are defending him on the internet, and they're like, no, like he's like, I feel so bad for Cole and blah, blah, blah. I don't. Like his behavior, his willingness to just go there with Zenab is terrifying. And y'all need to peep the sign. So Zenab also references other situations where she felt as if he was body shaming her, right? And there's this particular event with a cutie, I guess, and she was gonna eat a couple cuties before they went out for the reservation. He was like, "Are you gonna ruin your appetite?" Whatever. He said that never happened. I was so glad that they put the clip in there, but I'll talk about the clip afterwards. And she talks about how she was feeling so bad about herself that she wasn't eating really anything. She wanted to appease him and look skinnier for him. And he used another manipulative tactic where he was like, okay, but if I was doing all those things, why were you there? Why were you there if I was doing all these things? If I was so bad, if I was so evil, if I was so deceitful, then why was I, why would you be there? And this is the thing that I think Zenab is trying to get him to understand. It seems like she's done a lot of reflecting, is that like, I loved you. Like I was doing these things because I loved you. And Cole, like I said, he doesn't think he did anything wrong. He's not going to take accountability for any of this. The little bit of accountability he did take was not real. And then, Bartise was asking some questions, I guess. And like, I'm just like, Bartise, hush. Like, why? Of course it would be Bartise coming to his defense. Like, okay, birds of a feather flock together. Is that what it is? Birds of a something flock together. Whatever. Cole starts crying. And I'm all for men showing their emotions and being vulnerable. However, there are certain tears that are used to make that person who you've hurt make you feel good. And that's what he was doing when he was crying, right? He wasn't crying because he truly thought that he hurt her or cared that he hurt her. He cared about the fact that he's being exposed in a way that he probably hasn't before. He's probably gotten away with this sort of behavior all along. And now it's just out in the open for all of us to see. The facade is gone. You can't hide anymore, Cole. And he's crying and crying. He's like, I didn't text you back after the wedding because I didn't think you wanted anything to do with me. And I didn't think this. And like, I thought you hated me. And he does all this to get her to tell him that no, like, I love you. And like, whatever. I literally wrote, this is what I wrote verbatim. I said, Zanab, please stay away. Please, please, please. Whatever Zanab does, girl, I don't know if you're gonna watch this. If you do, great. Please stay away from Cole. He is scary. When people are able to just metamorphosize their emotions, like from going from cold, apathetic to just crying like that, scary. Very scary. And the people out there who are defending Cole, you guys don't understand what you're looking at. I'm telling you right now, you don't understand what you're watching. You're also getting manipulated by him as well, because the tears make you feel as though he's being super vulnerable. But the truth is that he harmed her and he doesn't want to take accountability. That's what that is. So they show the cutie scene, right? And while the cutie scene wasn't that big of a deal, I think like when we're remembering things, when you pick the first thing that pops in your head, I didn't think the cutie scene was that bad. But what I will say is, in the scene, she references how she hasn't eaten all day long, right? And of course, he was like, oh, I offered you a poke bowl though, whatever. B, or he makes a joke about getting ready for the wedding dress figure. Okay. And then C, he says you're gonna ruin your appetite for dinner. How two cuties? Come on now. I think in a vacuum, this interaction seems very innocent, but if this is the type of thing that's happening like 2 months straight, and Zanab seems to be very fragile emotionally, yeah, I can definitely see her starving herself for that man. I can 1000% see it. And everything that she said actually happened in that clip. So Cole being so comfortable calling her a liar and saying that that clip never happened, that interaction never happened, he's the liar. Next, Raven and SK. First, I like them both together. I will say that. However, it's very clear that they are orchestrating things to work in their favor. I don't know if the contestants have to sign certain NDAs or if they're not allowed to say certain things, because the show has a very like specific structure. Because Vanessa asks Raven if she felt blindsided by SK, and the answer she gave was so weird. She was like, well, no, but I wasn't really prepared, like, for what was gonna happen. And then I think Vanessa asks SK, like, did you know, like, did you know you were gonna say no beforehand? And he was like, well, like, I didn't know. It's very clear. I think they probably had a conversation about this like before they went up there. They definitely did off camera. Like, I 1000% believe it. And even though Raven's reaction was very emotional, she still had a very calm reaction. Like, she didn't have the reaction of someone who was like truly rejected. I think she knew like what was gonna happen, and it was just an overwhelming moment. And their communication, like throughout the show, their communication was always on point. So that wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. Now, SK did say something interesting about his family, and he said something about how he felt the only pressure that he felt throughout to say yes was from his family. And I thought about this because in the previous, well, not the previous recap, in one of the recaps, I had said that SK doesn't belong on Love is Blind, which he doesn't. But I think SK played the game in a way that it would work for him, right? And I say that because SK has probably been receiving a lot of pressure from his family to get married for a long time. And I think he came on Love is Blind to find a wife, but I don't think he came on Love is Blind prepared for a marriage. And I think that's what we were seeing and why it felt like such a 180 from him, but it wasn't. Like I think he went on Love is Blind, got what he was looking for, which was a long-term partner, somebody who is wifey material, somebody who he could get married to at some point, but I don't think he ever had any intention of marrying at the end of the show. And honestly, I'm happy they're still together. I was rooting for them all along. You know, I knew out of every couple they just had so much potential, and the way they talked about each other made it very clear to me that there's true love there. There's true love there and there's true appreciation there. All right, time for Bartise and Nancy. This will be, out of all the recaps that I've done, this will be like the shortest one for Bartise and Nancy, like their coupling. Like another instance where Nick and Vanessa Lachey just didn't ask enough questions, in my opinion, because I feel like there was so much that we needed to know about them, and we just didn't find out. So this look back bun from Bartise, it was a choice, not a good one. Not a good one. He's destroying his hairline. Like, if he wanted to do something cool, like he could have gotten some braids, he could have cut it off. But you know what? It is what it is. And the first thing they talk about is Bartise flirting with Raven and like really trying to like get some type of reaction from Raven. I think the interesting thing about the Bartise and Raven dynamic is that like in some alternate reality, Raven finds Bartise attractive, right? And has feelings for Bartise in this alternative reality, okay? Bear with me now. In that reality where Raven flirts back with Bartise, does he actually, not only does he say no to Nancy, but does he try to act on some whatever chemistry they have in person? Like he saw Raven and that was enough for him to be like, I should have given her another day. Raven rejects him and he's still talking about how beautiful Raven is. Raven rejected you in the pods and in person, and you're still talking about how she's a smoke show. So what happens in the event that Raven says, oh, you look good too, I'd come up to you in the bar? But Bartise don't want to have that conversation. That's the question they needed to ask Bartise. Petition to have Barista on my podcast, okay? It's not gonna happen, but petition to have Barista on my podcast so I can ask him the real questions that were not asked. It's not gonna happen because I know they be talking to like E! News and Us Weekly, but whatever, you know, shoot my shot. He apologizes to everyone and everyone kind of gets at him, like all the different parties of people. Like SK is like, I'm so glad Raven rejected you, and like he was like, the fact that you were talking about, you know, our love life and our intimate moments with Nancy and others and acting, you know, so callously about it, rude. And I forget who else, like, and even Raven was like, you know, I felt so bad because, you know, Bartise put me in this bad situation, and then is almost pitting Raven and Nancy against each other in a way. And it was never that deep. Raven wasn't into you. Like, you did all this for what? And Bartise apologizes. His apology reads to me more genuine than Cole's, but not really that genuine. Like, it's still just y'all are all upset at me. The world is upset at me. Let me apologize and get this out of the way. Like, okay. And then I also felt like just reading body language, like Nancy seemed to be over it with him. I think like for whatever reason throughout this process, and I've been harsh towards Nancy, I will admit, but throughout this process, she's been so enamored with Bartise. I don't know if it was Bartise specifically or just the idea of being in love, so enamored with it that she wasn't seeing anything clearly. Like she was letting so many things go, and I'm all for being chill, laid back, whatever. But when someone tells you who they are, please believe them. And I just felt like she wasn't believing Bartise at all. Then Alexa, who came with the tea all day. She came with the tea, the shade. Her and Brennan, like little bits of shade that they would be throwing at people, loved it. I was so here for it because Brennan is the epitome of respect and consideration for their partner, and Alexa, like she's the same way in my opinion. So it was just, I was here for it. I was here for it. And so they were throwing shade at Bartiz about, how he moved on to another woman the next day after the wedding was over. Some tall blonde, which is, what he likes. She was sitting on his lap, whatever. And he was like, well, I don't have to explain anything to you guys. I don't have to explain my sex life to you guys at all. I don't have to. I don't have to. And everyone was like, we never said anything about your sex life. Why did you go there? And so I understand, like, they were definitely implying that he slept with somebody, somebody else, like, right after. And, like, that's how he copes. That's how he copes. Not a very healthy way, but again, whatever. I think what they were really saying, I don't think it was about the sex per se, but it's, again, like, you're out and about, you're at a club, but you don't have enough respect for the person that you were just engaged to just, like, keep this stuff off the internet. Like, you don't have enough respect. And that's the thing, right? How can you, for 2 months, go through this whole process saying that I am more mature than my peers, I am ready for marriage, whatever, and then everything you do leading up to the wedding, then at the wedding, and then even after the wedding proves to all of us that you're not ready. You were never ready. So who are you fooling and why are you here? These are the questions Nick and Vanessa should have asked. That's what I would have asked. I would have been like, so who are you who are you trying to fool? Bartiz, are you trying to fool yourself? Are you trying to fool America? Are you trying to fool Nancy? Because nobody is fooled by you. Nobody is fooled. We know exactly why you were on the show. You were on the show so that you could keep on attracting tall blondies. That's what you like. Come on now. Come on now. I said he's so shameful and he was never ready. Like I just said over and over and over again, he was never ready for Nancy. Nancy's brothers hit it on the nail. He was never ready. Never. He was never worthy either. He's not ready for any type of partnership, long term or short. I said it. Matt and Colleen. Colleen, are you okay? Are you okay? Colleen seems genuinely afraid. Like her body language read very scared, right? Like wanting to say the exact right thing, wanting to make sure Matt is happy, wanting. It's hard because I don't want to, psychoanalyze their body language too much, but like just her facial expressions alone it just seemed like she was in such discomfort that like I feel like I have to say something about it. Like I have to just point out that like there's no way that she was comfortable, like zero way. I also said that like, they seem to always diminish their problems, right? They diminish their conflict and they diminish the origin of their conflicts way too much. And the origin is Matt. I've been saying this. Matt has a lot of problems. And nobody is really just outright telling him that, like, hey, man, you're still very hurt. And you are projecting all of that hurt onto the person that you claim you love. And I do believe, because he says some things about Colleen later on, I will talk about that. He says some things that make it very clear that he loves her. I believe it. Before, I wasn't sure, but I do believe it. But you can love somebody and it be to their demise because love is such a powerful emotion and it evokes a type of desperation and ugliness out of people. And if you don't know how to control it, you'll only end up hurting and pushing away the person that you're with. So they also talk about this interesting situation they have with them not living together. Weird. The reason why I say that it's weird is because, Colleen kind of explains the situation and it has something to do with the leases and the timing of the leases are strange. Neither of them wanted to give it up because it would be like expensive. And Colleen has roommates and if she gave up her lease, then she would be screwing them over. She gave like a multitude of reasons and I'm not going to say that it was BS, but I'm going to say that seems to be a little bit more to the story that we don't know. It's none of our business, but I wish they would push the envelope a little bit more since they are the hosts of a reunion. That's what you do in reality television. You push the envelope, you get them to spit. Alrighty, you guys, I'm really sorry, but the audio cut out. So I am refilming the end portion of this video about Matt and Colleen. So where we left off, pretty much I was just talking about their living arrangements and how the way they were describing it was a little bit weird. It felt a little bit coy. I didn't think we were getting like the full story about what might be going on, and maybe there's some conflict there. I feel like to say that like, oh, we're kind of living in separate places right now because of the lease and all that stuff, I feel like it's weird. And then for Colleen to afterwards be like, but actually, like, we see each other every day. It's just on laundry day that we don't see each other. I understand, like, many couples, when they're going through this transition phase, particularly with where they're going to live and who they're going to live with, there is that, like, there are sometimes conflicts with leasing arrangements and all that stuff, which makes total sense. But usually people just say, we're in between two places, which I know it's semantics, right? I get it's semantics and it's kind of maybe an awkward subject, but there's a lot going unsaid in Matt and Colleen's dynamic. And I wish the hosts would bring it up. I wish they would, instead of just being useless the entire time, but that's neither here nor there. I did appreciate how Matt talked about Colleen and talked about her depth and talked about her work ethic and talked about just how she is actually a very impressive person. I feel like in the pods, she sold herself short and production was selling her short as well. I wish she had emphasized who she truly was. She's a lot more than just a ballerina. But even if she was just a ballerina, that takes so much hard work, that takes so much dedication. Colleen, baby, you are more than your flexibility, right? And I think if she had sold herself more in that way, people would have had a little bit more respect for her. But that's neither here nor there. I'm glad Matt said it. And it showed me that he does care for her a lot and that he's paying a lot of attention to, who she is and the little things and nuances that make Colleen who she is. However, I feel like if Matt doesn't get help, he's only going to hurt her irreparably. And it doesn't mean that he'll hurt her physically, but he'll end up hurting her emotionally. So that's all I have to say about Matt and Colleen. And that's all I have to say about this show. I'm tired of Love is Blind. I would be totally okay if Netflix decided to discontinue this experiment, because I think that we have come to the conclusion that love is in fact not blind. There's like 2 successful relationships that have come of this show from the first season. And I'm not counting Brennan and Alexa, SK and Raven, or Matt and Colleen as successful until I see that they last for a couple years at least. At least. Because all of them season 2 couples divorced literally like a couple months ago. So we'll see if we can get some more success out of Love is Blind. But anywho, thank you so much for watching my video. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share, comment, all of that for more content. There's going to be more recaps on the way, more reviews. I'm definitely going to be making just a lot more videos in general. And I do have a podcast episode that will be dropping tomorrow. So you know what to do. Peace. I did the wrong side. Peace.